Welcome back to TPS. Another regular season is in the books, and it's time for 12 NFL teams to begin their quest for a Super Bowl 54 championship. 7 of last year's playoff teams return to the big dance once again. This includes the Saints, Eagles, Seahawks, Chiefs, Ravens, Patriots, and Texans. So who's coming out on top? Here are the annual always wrong playoff predictions from TPS.
At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video.
Wildcard AFC, 3 New England Patriots versus 6 Tennessee Titans. The Patriots' shocking loss to the Miami Dolphins at Gillette Stadium in Week 17 knocked them down to the number 3 seed. It's the first time in 10 years where New England is forced to play on Wildcard Weekend. The Titans, meanwhile, are coming in hot with Ryan Tannehill, who won 7 of 10 starts to guide Tennessee back to the postseason for the second time in 4 years. Fun fact, this was also Tennessee's 4th consecutive 9-7 season. The Tennessee Titans are coached by Mike Vrabel, a former linebacker for the Patriots, who won 3 Super Bowls with them in the early 21st century. These two clubs met in Week 10 of the 2018 season, where Tennessee absolutely shredded the Pats by a final score of 34-10. Vrabel obviously has some knowledge on this New England playbook, and the Titans have plenty of playmakers on both sides of the ball. But for all the weaknesses we've seen on New England's offense, it's just not easy for us to pick against them on their own turf in the playoffs. Tom Brady will make enough big plays, the rushing game will lead the way, and most importantly, the defense will completely spoil the Tannehill party. Rushing champion Derrick Henry will be kept in check. Patriots advance again. Prediction: Patriots 24, Titans 10. 4 Houston versus 5 Buffalo Bills. This will be the first playoff meeting between the two franchises. For the Bills, it's only their second playoff berth in the 21st century. While the Texans relied on world-class playmaking quarterback Deshaun Watson to mask the many flaws on this team, from O-line to the secondary, the Bills relied on a powerful rushing game and a stingy in-your-face defense. Josh Allen took major leaps in his sophomore year, but he's still prone to bad turnovers and accuracy woes. Expect a lot of blitzes from Romeo's squad. The Buffalo defense is built well to take on a high-flying offense like the Watson-led unit in Houston, but even if the D keeps him in check, and if this turns out to be a low-scoring game, are you going to trust Allen or Watson to make the big play? This could be a very sloppy and mistake-filled affair, but it's hard to pick against the home team. Prediction: Texans 20, Bills 16. NFC: 3 New Orleans Saints versus 6 Minnesota Vikings. The Saints won 13 games, and yet it's not enough to earn a first-round bye, as they fell to the San Francisco 49ers and Green Bay Packers on tiebreakers. The Saints were also stuck at the number 3 seed in 2011 despite winning 13 games. While the Saints' shot at redemption following brutal postseason losses in 2017 and 2018 is a key storyline to watch closely. Their first obstacle: Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings, who bounced back nicely after a vastly disappointing 2018 campaign. New Orleans' rapidly improving defense will likely try to stack the box on Dalvin Cook, thus forcing Kirk Cousins to beat them. As for many, good luck stopping Drew Brees in his own stadium, although we highly recommend double-teaming Michael Thomas, who set the record for most catches in a single season with 149. We all know how poorly Cousins performs against elite competition, and the Saints' lone home postseason loss in the Brees-Sean Payton era was courtesy of the worst officiating mistake of all time. Hard to see the Saints losing a home game to a team that, well, has a reputation for not exactly showing up in the big moments. The Saints will get revenge for the Minneapolis Miracle 2 years earlier. Prediction: Saints 31, Vikings 20. 4 Philadelphia Eagles versus 5 Seattle Seahawks. Believe it or not, this will be the first ever playoff showdown between two franchises that have been, for the most part, fairly consistent winners in the 21st century. The Eagles caught fire by winning their final 4 games to win the NFC East. 9 wins was enough, thanks to the Dallas Cowboys' embarrassing debacle down the stretch. Philly has been ravaged by injuries all over, namely at wide receiver and along the offensive line. The secondary has lost plenty of key players as well, but Doug Peterson kept the team together and helped them punch a 3rd straight ticket to the postseason. Philadelphia will host a Seattle team that had the NFC's top seed in their hands, only to drop 2 consecutive home games and 3 of their final 4 outings. That dropped them to the top wildcard spot. Seattle has only won 2 road playoff games in the Russell Wilson-Pete Carroll era, but this team is completely banged up, and the Seahawks' leaky defense should do just enough against a club that's missing so many key players on offense. Seattle defeated Philadelphia 17-9 right here in the city of brotherly love back in Week 12. Expected encore. Prediction: Seahawks 24, Eagles 17. Divisional round. 1. Baltimore Ravens versus 4. Houston Texans. The NFL's top team devastated opponents after a sloppy 2-2 start, recording 12 straight wins to finish with a 14-2 record. That included a Week 11 destruction of the Texans, where Baltimore ran wild with a 41-7 victory. It would be interesting to see what Bill O'Brien and Romeo Crennel come up with from the defensive side. Watson and DeAndre Hopkins should be able to make some plays against a Ravens secondary that was good but not great for large stretches of the season. But this Houston defense just isn't very good, plain and simple. Their rushing defense is weak, the pass rush won't be much of a game changer even with J.J. Watt back, and the secondary is still a weakness. Baltimore can beat you in all three phases of the game. Their defense will clamp down on Watson and company, while Lamar Jackson will have another field day as the Ravens cruise back to the AFC Championship game for the first time since the 2012 season when they went on to win Super Bowl 47. Prediction: Ravens 30, Texans 20. 2. Kansas City Chiefs versus 3. New England Patriots. Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes Part 2. TB12, of course, won the first two meetings against Mahomes, including a thrilling 2018 AFC Championship game at Arrowhead in overtime that propelled New England to its 6th Super Bowl championship. But Bill Belichick still hasn't exactly figured out Mahomes, who made enough plays in their Week 14 showdown despite dealing with a hand injury. And the tables turned big time that night, with Kansas City's defense stealing the game after costing them last year's AFC Championship. While the Chiefs' defense is truly championship caliber, and they should have another big game. This time at home against a New England offense that still hasn't found its rhythm. And as great as the Patriots' defense is, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes here. He doesn't have to be great, he just has to be very good, and he will be. Kansas City gets revenge from last year's crushing defeat by taking down Brady and the Pats this time around. Prediction: Chiefs 31, Patriots 17. NFC 1. San Francisco 49ers versus 5. Seattle Seahawks. We've waited 6 years for this, but finally it has arrived. Oh, we're talking about another playoff showdown between the 49ers and Seahawks. This time Richard Sherman is on the 49ers, so don't expect him to do any post-game rants on Michael Crabtree of any kind. The Seahawks and 49ers split the season series, with the road team emerging victorious each time. Both contests came down to the final play, so ignore the records. These two teams are evenly matched and it's truly anybody's game to win. But how do we pick against the 49ers? Their secondary isn't great, especially against Russell Wilson, but the front seven completely overwhelmed him in Week 17, and the 49ers will certainly throw a lot of pressure his way. Meanwhile, Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers' powerful rushing game has caused a lot of problems for Seattle's defense. Did we mention this game's being played in San Fran? It's back to the championship game for San Francisco. Giddy up. Prediction: 49ers 30, Seahawks 24. 2. Green Bay Packers versus 3. New Orleans Saints. Finally, the first ever postseason showdown between these two teams. They only had to wait more than half a century for it. Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees have been the NFC's top two quarterbacks this decade. Both are surefire Hall of Famers and are looking to add second Super Bowl championship rings. The Saints were the better team throughout the year, and they're unquestionably more balanced. Rodgers and the Green Bay offense never found its true dominant form, but the powerful defense carried the pack to 13 wins and a first-round bye. And defense wins championships, right? We ain't having to pick against Rodgers at home, especially in the playoffs, but the Saints have too many playmakers that can overwhelm this Green Bay secondary, from Michael Thomas to Jared Cook to Alvin Kamara. Also, Rodgers' mediocre play should concern Packers fans, especially if they meet a championship-caliber defense like New Orleans. Green Bay has the home field advantage, but New Orleans has more postseason experience and the better team. Let's give this one to the Saints. Prediction: Saints 24, Packers 20. Conference Championships. AFC. 1. Baltimore Ravens versus 2. Kansas City Chiefs. If our calculations are correct, it will be Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, the two most exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL, meeting for the Lamar Hunt Trophy. What more can you ask for? These two teams met at Arrowhead back in Week 3, where Kansas City came away with a 33-28 victory. The Chiefs also defeated the Ravens back in Week 14 of the 2018 season. That game was also played at Arrowhead. So yes, Mahomes and the Chiefs have had Jackson's number in the early going, but this time Baltimore has home field advantage. Kansas City is one of the very few teams that can match Baltimore in terms of offense and defense. It's easy to pick the home team with the best quarterback of the 2019 season, but something is telling us that Kansas City will win. Why? Because their defense is an absolute machine under Steve Spagnuolo, and they have the right players to slow down Baltimore's speedy offense. Chris Jones and Frank Clark can take over a game at any point, and Tyrann Mathieu can hold down the fort in the secondary. And Mahomes certainly isn't scared of this Ravens secondary that he's carved up twice. Finally, for the first time since the 1969 season, Kansas City is headed to the Super Bowl. Prediction: Chiefs 27, Ravens 24. NFC: 1 San Francisco 49ers versus 3 New Orleans Saints. The 49ers earned home advantage thanks in large part to their epic 48-46 victory in New Orleans back in Week 14. Both defenses took the day off, but with an NFC title on the line, we're sure they'll be awake this time. The 49ers, of course, defeated the Saints in an epic 2011 NFC divisional round 8 years ago. Alex Smith is gone, however, and that New Orleans defense that was just plain awful at the time is now one of the NFL's best. We don't think you'll be seeing another 48-46 game between the two clubs, but with so many playmakers on both sides of the ball, this could really be a high-scoring affair that comes down to the postseason. San Fran may have home advantage, but we view the Saints as a better team. Can Jimmy G handle the playoff pressure? Maybe. But Breeze and the Saints have more experience, and it's hard to bet against the Super Bowl 44 champion and MVP. He and Peyton will put together a strong game plan in attacking the San Fran defense, while Dennis Allen's unit will produce a much better outing on the other side of the ball. The Saints finally are back in the Super Bowl. Prediction: Saints 28, 49ers 24. And the Super Bowl, New Orleans Saints versus Kansas City Chiefs. Before the season started, we picked the Saints and Chiefs to meet in Super Bowl 54, and we're not backing away from it. Neither team carries the top seed, but they carry perhaps the two most complete talent-filled rosters. Not to mention, both were just one play away from reaching the Super Bowl last year. Both teams are on a road to redemption, and it will happen for one of them this time around. What a matchup this will be. Drew Brees versus Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid versus Sean Payton, two vastly improved championship-caliber defenses. This game could really go any way. It could be a high-scoring shootout for the ages, or it could be a sloppy defensive slugfest. But the Saints and Chiefs simply have too many weapons on offense, and we expect Brees and Mahomes to exchange blow for blow in Miami. There will be plenty of creative play calls from both sides of the ball, so who comes out on top? We're calling the Saints a team of destiny following their two crushing postseason defeats and all the adversity they faced this season. It only seems fitting that they rally together and finally win another Super Bowl. For Kansas City, there will be no shame in losing to Brees and the Saints. Mahomes and company will be in the running for a long, long time. This will be a starting point for them. The future will be bright, but this is just the Saints' year. Prediction: Saints 30, Chiefs 27. Super Bowl MVP Drew Brees. Who do you think will win Super Bowl 54? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.